the girls.
Hi everyone. So I did a couple videos about adrenal fatigue. So I'm going to let you know what I've been doing, and yes, it's going better, a lot better. I guess I'll just tell you about what happened with me and what I did. One of the main things that let me know that it was adrenal fatigue related was my sleep pattern, which I explained in the other video. I was having a lot of trouble sleeping properly, and plus I have restless leg syndrome, which I've always had, but now it was getting to be like I couldn't sleep. I was like up in the middle of the night, lit up, and and I was also really tired in the morning all the time. So I used this relax and sleep. It did break that cycle of this insomnia in the middle of the night. It did let me relax and sleep. And that was really crucial, because if you're not getting rest, you're not going to recover from your burnout. So relax and sleep. And the other thing, my secret weapon against restless leg syndrome is kratom. I do use it, but I use it sort of occasionally. Like if I have really bad restless leg syndrome, I use it sometimes. But if you use it all the time, your body will get used to it. You'll get the side effects, and you'll become like maybe physically kind of dependent on it. But I was in a really bad situation with the sleep, so I had to do something. So those were the things that I used, and that kind of broke through this barrier I had where I really couldn't sleep. I got the sleep in order, but the next thing I had to do was reduce the stress. And I guess for a little while it seemed like I was just being lazy, because I spent a lot of time in bed, but I was completely exhausted. It was like chronic fatigue. Maybe I have chronic fatigue, I don't know, but it sure felt like it. So I spent a lot of time lying on my back in the yoga pose called the tree, where you have your legs straight up perpendicular, like at a 90-degree angle. And this recharges your adrenals. So the first few weeks, basically I was just trying to get my sleep in order and doing a lot of tree pose. I was also really trying to cut down on the stress, and one thing I was doing for that was a lot of Sudoku. And the other thing is trying to do something that would kind of lift my spirits. Like, laughter is good medicine, and I had basically lost my sense of humor, which was really scary. So I was, trying to maybe watch something funny or something entertaining, or do something nice for myself, or whatever I could do to give myself a break, because I really needed it. Now, another thing with adrenal fatigue is that your body is not holding on to salt properly. And I made this. It's called Sole. It's a cup of sea salt diluted in water, and you let it sit there, and then you just take a teaspoon of this and put it in your water in the morning. And drinking more water, I think hydration is really important. I definitely see a connection between being dehydrated and having restless legs, worse. And the salt water seemed to do something that I felt like I had more energy again. Now here's another weird thing. I had had a blood test, and it said that my blood looked like a person who has a B12 deficiency, and yet my blood levels were normal. So they just said, oh, well, it's just idiopathic, probably means nothing. I think it did mean something, because I've had genetic tests, and I have some of those weird mutations. Not MTHFR, I think I might have one, but I have two genes for something called MTRR, which is a lot like MTHFR, but probably people just don't know as much about it. And so it means that even if you're taking in enough B12, your body's not going to use it properly. It's like a methylation defect. So I did get this advanced B complex from AOR, and start taking those B vitamins. And I also have this, which is a liquid B12, which I take now and then. You put it in your mouth and it absorbs through the gums, because swallowing B12, it doesn't absorb very well, and especially if it's not the active form. And this, I think, took it to another level. I started to feel like I was coming out of it. So then another thing that I did was I had gone off gluten-free, because I guess I'd been listening to people who said it's just a fad and whatever. And I think that had a lot to do with why I got so burnt out. I think that, I don't know if it's the gluten actually, but I think it's either wheat or just grains in general, that I know that they cause inflammation. There's this one doctor, I don't know his name, but his whole thing is about how grains cause inflammation, and it's related to all kinds of problems, health problems. I can't speak for other people, but I can say for myself that if I'm wheat-free, I feel a lot better, and I think I just become more resilient. I mean, when I was burnt out, it was like I couldn't think straight. My thinking was like really in circles, like sometimes just one word like going around my head. I mean, I was just totally burnt out. I think a doctor would have said I was depressed. I couldn't get motivation up to do anything. I couldn't focus. I was tired all the time. And even if I wanted to do something, well, I couldn't do it because I was so tired, like physically just drained. And that brings me to the other thing. Another thing I did for this horrible fatigue was the zapper. I've gone through this before of being exhausted, and the two things that I found really helped a lot was juicing, and the other thing was the zapper. The zapper, if I wear it for some time, definitely brings up my energy. This is just a plain old Terminator zapper. It's weird because I've had this zapper for years, and it's like every time I need it, I'm kind of really skeptical. Oh, what's this little box going to do? And yet when I wear it, it never fails to bring my energy up. The other thing that I did was homeopathy. Homeopathy is another thing that I've always been very skeptical, and yet my experience using it, despite my disbelief, is that it does definitely work. It definitely does something. I mean, there were times where I was sitting on the floor in the kitchen thinking, how the hell am I going to clean anything? I can't even move. And I thought, okay, I'll take the remedy. And I took the homeopathic remedy, and next thing I knew, I was up and cleaning. So I had my energy back. I mean, it was really like night and day. Like, I could actually feel energy flowing in my body. Because when I get like this fatigue, it's like I'm unplugged. It's like the system just goes right down. And so I think that the homeopathy helped. Now, at a certain point, I realized how serious adrenal fatigue is and the damaging effect it has on your mind and your physical health. And I realized, this is really serious. I'm really going to have to do something about it. And I endeavored to do something, and I guess it's really been helping. But I've realized recently also that this is not like a one-shot thing where you just take a bunch of pills and drink some salt water and put your zapper on and you're okay. This is going to be like long-term, because if I slack off, the fatigue comes back. So it's like I have chronic fatigue, but I mean, some days are really awful, and I'm like, what? It's back again? I can't move. And then other days I feel okay. And I guess there's a psychological aspect to all this too, which is, a question of keeping your morale up. And I think prayer is very important, So between all those things that I've been doing in prayer, I feel like, I am recovering. I'm probably like 80% recovered. And now I just have to do maintenance and make sure that I don't fall back. And so I just want to make this video to let you know that it's been working, and there's hope. I mean, if you're going through this, that it can get better. But I think that the sooner you get on it, the better, before it really does some damage. So I hope this is useful to you, and thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.